Hi everyone. So I think it's the appointed hour, so we'll start. My name's Scott Robinson and this is Katrin Meyer. And our session now is on interactive multi-feed live streaming, specifically focusing in on some of the stuff that we've been doing together for Vans and a couple of other examples as well. So Katrin's going to start off.
So hi everyone. So let me introduce myself briefly. I'm Katrin Meyer. I'm the interactive marketing manager for Vans in Europe, Middle East and Africa region. I'm originally from Austria. You can probably hear that. We're now based in Switzerland at the European headquarters for Vans. I joined Vans 3 years ago and I'm now leading the digital marketing team there. On the next couple of slides, I'd like to give you a brief intro of what we're doing, especially when it comes to events and how we're covering events and how we're doing it and why we're doing what we're doing. So who we are. Vans is an original action sports footwear and apparel company. Vans is a brand of VF Corporation. VF Corporation includes brands such as the North Face, Timberland, Eastpak, just to name a few. Vans was founded in 1966 in California and includes a collection of authentic footwear, apparel and accessories and snow boots. Vans sells its products in over 70 countries, with the biggest markets being the UK, Germany, France, followed by Italy, Spain, Benelux, and Scandinavian countries. On the pictures in the middle, you can see the original packaging of the shoes back in 1966. The guy in the middle is the godfather of Vans, Paul Van Doren, and the picture on the right shows the first Vans retail store in California. The brand is built around the following cultural pillars. We're all about action sports, including skateboarding, snowboarding, surfing, and BMX. The other three pillars are art, in particular street art, fashion and lifestyle, and music. We're not tied into a certain genre, but we are somewhat linked to the punk rock scene. This is our vision at Vans. We have the goal to own creative expression. So in the past 45 years, we've been working hard on being the #1 skateboarding brands. And the latest consumer insight studies have shown that we ticked the box, mission accomplished, and now it's time to expand the message and also leverage our other cultural pillars, music, art, and street wear and street lifestyle. So, as said, at this point it might be interesting to talk a bit about our consumer, our target consumer, and our target audience. So, basically, obviously, we like to call them creative expressor. They are either actively participating in action sports or very open to action sports. They like to express themselves creatively through their clothing and shoes. And when it comes to content consumption, they're very internet savvy. They like to get the right content at the right time, at the right place. That's why content on demand is getting more and more important. And recently we're seeing a shift to mobile content consumption. So what do we do to activate our brand? So on the one hand, we're supporting athletes all around the globe on their boards and bikes. And on the other hand, we're activating the brand through progressive events. That includes events like the Vans Triple Crown of Surfing or the US Open of Surfing, which are world-class surf events, or the Vans Downtown Showdown, which is our biggest event that we've done last year in Europe. It's a skate event with a very unique contest format. Or the Vans Warped Tour, which is a music tour with several stops in the US and 7 stops in Europe last year. To give you a better idea of the look and feel of our events, I'd like to show you a little video. Here you go. so these are just the events that we've done this year in 2014, and a couple of these events we've been working with together with Scott on the live webcast. So as you can see, events are a huge component in our marketing mix and are really important to us to engage with the consumer and to achieve a really deep consumer connectivity. So what do we do in terms of event coverage? We going for a multi-channel approach. So we do offline, we do we're working with print media titles, we do fly postings and store windows. And online, we're covering the event on our own online platforms, that is the Vans.com website and event microsites. Social media plays a really important role in our marketing mix as well, because I've mentioned it earlier that our target consumer is very internet savvy, and we identified social media platforms as really effective mediums to talk to this target audience. So we're now on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, Tumblr, and Pinterest, and Vine as a bit of an experimentary platform. We've got two owned Vans video platforms. That is, actually we've got one owned video platform, that is Off the Wall TV, and we've got one official YouTube channel. I've mentioned it before, we live streaming from our events, and I'm going to go into that a bit more in detail on the next few slides. We're sending out newsletters, and we're doing traditional banner and site takeovers. So why are we live streaming our events? As I said, events are really important to us, and we're categorizing the events. So we've got gold events, silver events, and bronze events. And most of the gold events, they're global events or pan-European events, and we want them to resonate across country borders. So the question we had to ask ourselves is, how do we do that? How do we bring the event to people who cannot physically attend the event? How do we make it relevant to people worldwide to raise brand awareness, engage, and educate the consumer? On this map, you can see these are our Facebook fan locations. So our target audience is really all over the world. And the purpose with live streaming from events is really to bring the event to people who cannot attend. So why multi-feed live streaming for us, and why did we go for this solution? So at this stage, it might be worth taking a look back at the beginning. 3 years ago, when I joined Vans, we did live webcasts ourselves with GoPros, TriCaster, shaky footage, quite interesting and funny. But we found out with these early trials that it's working for us, and that we're getting more and more people engaged, even though the numbers of views were really low. Average time watching was really low because you could not watch the shaky footage for more than 5 minutes. But we identified this as a way to communicate with our consumer and to engage with them. And over the years, we started working with different production companies, changing quite a lot until we started working with Scott. And over the years, we established this relationship. And the more we're working together, the better the quality gets. We started adding motion graphics, titles, lower thirds, intros. And we found out that the better the quality, the higher the numbers of views, and the longer people are watching and staying engaged. So we came together at the beginning of this year, and we're like, okay, what got us here won't get us there. We need to be innovative and find something else to keep the consumer interested, and to make the user experience more interactive, and to increase the consumer engagement, increase average time of watching. And to basically, the solution we came up with was to put the viewer in the center of the attention and let them choose what they want to watch. So, and this is what we did for the recent event, the Spring Classic. So I'm gonna dive a bit deeper into that. That's an event that we do every year. So this year was the 6th edition in Naples. It's an international mini ramp skate contest, but it's not only skateboarding, it also covers the other cultural brand pillars, that is music and side activities like art shows, shoe customization, and barbers on site. And here are the top line numbers, what we achieved when doing this live webcast. So we had a total views of 180,000, which is a huge, massive increase compared to last year's event. Average time watching was 30 minutes and 18 seconds, which is an increase of 9 minutes compared to previous events. Even last year's Downtown Showdown, which was our biggest event, didn't achieve these numbers. And here's a little picture where you can see the views by device. So 62% were watching on desktop, 17% on iPhone, 13% Android, and 8% on tablet. That's pretty much it from my side. I'll let go Scott deeper into what we've done for Spring Classic. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks, Katrin. So I suppose what I was going to do next was to just go into some of the detail of what we did, what we have already done, what we're planning to do. Firstly, I'd like to say that the stuff that we are doing with Vans is very much a team effort, and the folk who aren't here today are Factory Media. Factory are the world's largest action sports publisher, and it's the three of us working together to achieve the interactive multi-feed live streaming that we're doing. So to talk firstly about and to focus in on Spring Classic. So as Katrin said, there are a number of Vans events each year. Spring Classic is the first kind of opening event of the year, and one of the smaller events, which then get bigger as the season goes on. Our initial focus for Spring Classic was on the interactive side rather than the multi-feed side, and to really bring in the social conversation, integrate some e-commerce, and include user-generated content. So to just show you how we did that. Hopefully, to just show you how we did that. The computer being a little slow. So this is the live player, and you can see here that we've integrated live updates, so principally Twitter, also user-generated content, and highlights. So what we did for Spring Classic is as I said, kind of focus on for the e-commerce that we integrated, that was relevant to what was going on. So it'd be nice if you could hotspot live video. If anyone can do that, I'd like to talk with them. So what we were doing in the back end actually was doing that manually, so as to be offering up in the Shop Now section that you see here items that were relevant to the action that was going on. So we had a list of things that we thought were interesting in the store, and we presented those as we went along, linked to if a particular Vans rider, because there are a number of riders who are sponsored by Vans, if a particular Vans rider had a particular item that particular shoes they were wearing, for example, we'd sponsor those. We'd put that up in the store. So first of all, I suppose that was so this interactivity was the focus, and the interactivity in the social conversation. In terms of gotchas, well, firstly, is social alone interactive? And a lot of people kind of talk about social and interactive as if they're the same, and they're not really. And and what we have made a start on and have got plans to further improve is how we actually do create a dialogue with viewers, because we're trying to get your viewers who are principally, I suppose, under 25. Engage with the Vans brand, and to continue that Vans experience while they're watching the interactive live stream. And, we don't want them to just be kind of mentioning it in tweets. We want to be able to have a dialogue with them. So things like competitions, unlocking content, unlocking additional content as a result of the number of shares or the number of viewers, as the audience increases, kind of rewarding people for sharing and sharing the competition with their social media contacts. Another very practical gotcha that we found with Spring Classic is that we syndicated along with Factory Media, and Factory did the heavy lifting on this. We syndicated the Spring Classic to some huge number of sites. I forget what it was. It was like 500 or something.
Yeah, it was definitely over 300.
Yeah.
I think it was 500, about right.
So as well as being able to watch on the Principal Vans site, people were also able to watch on a bunch of other specialist media sites. What we found was that as we added in additional content to the iframe that we were syndicating out to third parties, it actually became harder to push that. Because people, third parties would look at, for example, the e-commerce add-ins within our live stream and be, I'm not sure that really fits with, our site. So on one side it's good to kind of have these features. On the other side, they can have an impact on how widely you can get your content out. In terms of the content itself and the multi-feed aspect of it, what we did specifically for Springs Classic is that we focused in on highlights. So it was live and a selection of near real-time live rather than multiple live cameras. So as we went along, we kept on, we have EVS machines that are doing highlights all the time, and in parallel to doing highlights to integrate within the live, we were also doing highlights to upload to the on-demand platform and to make them available next to the live, so that if someone pulled off a really great trick, then people can go back and see that that it's offered up next to the live. So that's what we did for Spring Classic. A gotcha with that, which wasn't an issue with Spring Classic, but it's an issue we've had with other similar events where we've done something similar, is that the processing times for on-demand clips, if you're trying to do kind of real-time or very close to near real-time clips, processing times, if you're relying particularly on YouTube, are variable. So we've done stuff where it's been really, really critical to have the on-demand highlights next to the live, kind of almost instantaneous. In the morning, it's been almost instantaneous, and then I suppose because of the load and all the thousands of clips that go through YouTube every day, when it's been the most critical for us to get those up quickly, it hasn't been that quick. For Spring Classic, we weren't doing the on-demand clips through YouTube. We were using a factory backend and doing it through encoding.com. Encoding.com has kind of similar, has some variability in processing time, but from our experience, not as much as YouTube. I suppose looking what we're planning on doing beyond Spring Classic for the rest of the year is to add in live cameras, extra camera, so live extra cameras. So there really is a selection of live content that viewers have available to them. When you start to do that, it's a matter of what live content actually makes sense and actually does add to the viewer experience, and to be able to do that cost effectively, and whether it's just cameras or whether it's whether you actually start to produce, multiple feeds through multiple production galleries. And when you start to do that, the costs go up considerably. Specifically for vans, the kind of thing that we're doing for the future is to include an aerial cam, to include team cams. So lots of the events are multiple obstacles. So to focus, and the storytelling of the coverage is a little bit fluid, let's say, because you've got a lot going on with a lot of the sessions are jam sessions. You've got different riders, different teams, different obstacles, all this stuff happening within in some cases, quite a large space. I suppose for Downtown Showdown last year, it was an overall area which was probably 200 or 300 meters long, and
4 obstacles, 4 different obstacles were
4 different obstacles, 200 meters long, 50 meters wide. So there's a lot going on, and that's that's something where the multi-feed can really add value, because what it does mean is that you can tell different stories through the live, and you can offer up different types of storytelling to viewers. So things like focusing in on a team, or focusing in on a key rider, or focusing in on just an obstacle or a particular trick within the obstacle. So if there's one particular feature that skateboarders are really nailing, and that the audience are going to find really enthralling, then to focus in on that. So that's the kind of thing that we plan on doing for the rest of the year, to kind of go through a couple of different examples of other things that we've done for multi-feed. In a corporate sense, so one example is this Boots Feel Like New live that we did. So it was a Facebook live stream that we did with Bradley TV and M&C Saatchi, and what we did for that was it was four different live feeds offered up in a quad, with each of them following a different story. So in that case, it was hair, nail, lips, and kind of a main presenter feed. The stuff we've done for backstage, to just talk a little, I suppose I wanted to just talk a bit about what secondary feeds do make sense. Something we've done for both music and fashion events is to integrate a backstage camera, and this is a once we finish a YouTube ad.
Love the way your hair looks after a holiday?
So this is an example from South by Southwest, and if I'll just try to stop that during that, so that you kind of get to see what's going on. And this is it's YouTube's come up with it's playing it at a low quality, but this is an example of a backstage camera. So a 2-camera multi-feed that we did for a Ray-Bans event at South by Southwest, where we had the main principal the principal production at the top, and then at the bottom we've got a backstage, kind of interviews and things like that. And every time we had something that was interesting to show on the backstage, what we did was we actually flashed the switch lights so as to kind of encourage people to have a look at the backstage camera, because we were only turning on the backstage whenever there was folk to interview. So as you know, DJs and hip hop folk and what have you. But that's an example of a music event. Something else that we have found works well for the secondary cameras, you know, it's really trying to be innovative with them and innovative with what is offered up. Sorry, I should have loaded these up beforehand. But hopefully this one will start, and I'll just maximise it. But what we did for so this was a.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
So this is.
Who let the dogs out?
Sorry.
But the party was nice, the party was pumping,
So
and everybody having a ball until the fellas started in
for
falling.
Stylus magazine, and it was a Ford Fiesta Code production, and they created a magazine in 24 hours, and we had, you know, we called them webcams, but they weren't. Yeah, they were much more than webcams, but you know, presented to the public as webcams, and who that watched the production over the 24-hour period, and then we did things like there was an office dog. And we had a feed on the office dog, so a live feed on the office dog, and then we also had the food editor went on a 24-hour road trip, so we also had a live feed from their car as they drove around the countryside, which actually worked better than it's playing. And it was quite, you know, it's quite cool. It didn't work, you know. There was for that, you know, they weren't.
Cause love rules that the love shack will go. Remember this bit?
Yeah, kind of silly little moments like that, which were quite cool. But you know, we offered that up as you know, additional content. So those point of view cameras are actually something that, you know, kind of work well as additional content. Also, you know, we kind of go through and we really try to come up with any innovative camera idea really as a starting point. So this is another camera that we offered up as an alternative view for this is the World Scooter Championships, go figure. But with that, what we did was we had like a sled camera, which we were moving backwards and forwards through the event, and offered that up as an alternative view. The mobiles, I think, are something that have a real place to play in offering up secondary camera feeds. This is something we did with Getty for Paris Fashion Week, where we were using. Once it starts on YouTube, we were using iPhone-based cameras for getting in people's faces during arrivals at Fashion Week, and what we found was that using an iPhone-based camera, what it meant was that we were really able to do a different type of coverage than what you can if you've got a big broadcast camera. You know, as you know, for situations like this where people are hopping out of cars and things like that, you know, you can really kind of just put the, you know, we had our iPhone was on a little rig, but you can put it in people's faces and they don't feel as intimidated as they do with a broadcast camera. So this is all iPhone camera footage, it actually is much better than it looks here, and because we're actually on a low bandwidth, a low bitrate stream. But what we're using for that, and it's the same technology that we used for the dog, is we're using a Live View mobile phone app, and the magic of that is that, as well as the 4G in the phone, if you have a 4G MiFi, which you connect the phone to via Wi-Fi, the phone then has those two bandwidth sources, and it creates a live feed back to our master control room, bonding together both those bandwidth sources. So it means that, for Paris Fashion Week, for example, we'd have a 4G SIM on one operator, a MiFi on another operator, and then between those two operators, we're actually getting really, great quality, stable live video. Really amazingly so. Really, super impressive in terms of the technology. We've used we've used the same stuff in the US with not as great results, but that is something that I suppose helps for additional streams. The other advantage of using iPhones as those additional cameras is that it means that they're live direct from the phone. You don't need to have all your local production infrastructure in place for bringing in, so in a Vans context, we could have an iPhone at a particular place on the course, and that just feeding the live back to our MCR, where we then stream it, rather than having to have wireless cameras and and all the extra stuff that you need. For other events, what we've done is we've actually done multiple production galleries, and I suppose this is this makes sense if if it works if different production galleries work for the storytelling. So for this was an esports event, and we actually had 5 production galleries. So we were offering up viewers who were paying to watch 4 different games or 4 different competitions which were happening concurrently, and then also doing a kind of a mix across all 4 different games, and then doing the usual graphics and what have you within the production. But that's a starting point. And I think we had 2 million people watch that. But if you start to create multiple production galleries, it starts to add up. So to move from the content to connectivity, and continuing this, stepping through some of the issues or factors to be considered in doing multi-feed production. Obviously, the more feeds you have, the more connectivity you need at the event. For some locations, that's not an issue, but for Spring Classic, we were on the waterfront in Naples with no internet other than what we provided ourselves. So if you've got 4 different streams, and if you're using a CDN which does cloud transcoding, that's 4 times what you need to send for each of your single feeds into the CDN. If you're using a CDN that doesn't have cloud transcoding, then you're having to send each of those renditions times 4. And then typically also for our customers, where we're generally streaming to multiple platforms. So it's their principal platform, so the off-the-wall TV, as well as the Vans YouTube channel, as well as Daily Motion, and in other cases as in Livestream, Ustream. So you actually end up, once you add all of that together and you then multiply that by 4 as an example, you actually end up with kind of quite a lot of infrastructure on site and quite a lot of bandwidth that's required. The other issue, or another factor, is how you actually present the feeds, so I keep on showing this. So this presentation is at this Bitly address, and I'll replace this this slide share with a live example or an on-demand example of our live player. But this is our I suppose the way 3Screen is generally doing multi-feed players is that we offer them up principally to start off with as a we call this our thumbnail player. So the principal stream A, and then B, C, and D as thumbnails. Each of them are playing live. You're only getting audio for the selected large one, and the other 3 are playing without audio and are playing chromelessly without controls. You click on it and you get the and you change players. Then we're also offering up a max view and a quad view mode. The quad view is literally the four together with just the top left giving audio, and then the a max view of each of the 4. A couple of issues with this is that particularly if you're syndicating the stream, you want to be able, and if you're doing this in an iframe, you want to be able to have a standard size iframe, which remains the same irrespective of what you're offering up inside it. So for this thumbnail player, if you're looking at 16:9 content, it's hard to create 16:9 with thumbnails. So what we've been doing is we've been doing a 4:3 view of the 16:9 production, which means that we then need to make our graphics 4:3 safe, so that we're not cutting off graphics in this player because it's just a I forget what the correct term is, but it's the size of cutoff. So that's one thing. The other key thing is what happens with mobiles. So for a mobile, we generally find that these thumbs are too small for mobiles. That we do offer up a quad view for iPads, but the problem with iPads is that, and I think that for Spring Classic we had, it was only something like 20% of our viewing was on mobile devices, but it can be as much as 60%. So if you're not kind of creating something that with mobiles in mind, you're not making something for your audience. If you tried to offer up 4 streams on an iPad like this, what you're going to get is you're going to get 4 play buttons. You select one play button and then it'll go full screen, and then it's not a multi-camera view. So what we do for iPads is that we actually offer up a 5th video, which is a quad video of the 4. So specifically for iPads, and that for a PC viewer, you are actually getting four players, but for an iPad viewer, you're actually just getting the 1 player, which has the 4 players within it. The depending on what player you're using and what the technology you're using for the streaming, there's also limitations with what you can put for overlay on mobile devices. And for us, what we have to do is we have to put a splash screen rather than a clickable thumbnail on players. So, you know, a bunch of things there. And then just to finally talk about the business case. So I dealt with it as I went through, but as you do go and move from a single live stream to an interactive multi-feed live stream, there are a number of things that really have a significant cost implication, and typically we find that the cost of doing a 4-stream or a 4-feed interactive, live event is about double that of doing a single feed, because you've got more on-site staff, more connectivity requirements, more production galleries. You kind of start to really have to double up with a whole bunch of things. Even where do you put the galleries if you're outside in Naples? It's multiple trucks. It does really start to get complicated. Then on this, just here, I've also just included some other examples of interactive and multi-camera projects that we've done, which I'm not going to go through, but they're there if you go to the Bitly link. And lastly, our contact details are here, and we've included Matt's contact details from Factory. Any questions?
About the live to clip workflow, you were complaining that the turnaround time was more than 1 minute. Did you consider to use the DVR instead of encoding the clips?
Yeah, well, so in this example, we're actually using all of the players are DVR players, but I suppose we could use DVR with the events marked within the DVR, so that they started at the places that we wanted them to start. But we haven't been doing that. We've actually found it easier to upload a clip and to make the clip available. But our clients have mixed views about DVR, and some really don't like it, because particularly if you've got the main criticism is that and is that what you end up with if you're generating if it's really important for you to have a social conversation along with the video, you end up with people in different kind of spots of the video, so they're not talking about the same thing. So we've actually, for some clients, we're instructed to turn DVR off because of that reason, so as to sync up the conversation. Any other questions? Any questions for Katrin? Okay, thanks very much. Cheers.